Okay, here's something that I unfortunately have a history in. And so Jerry Watson's with us. He's the Chief Legal Officer at AIA. And the Colorado General Assembly is looking at a bill that would eliminate private bail bonding in the state and turn it over to the state of Colorado. And Jerry Watson's an expert in the field, and he wants to discuss the implications of changing this because this system's worked well for a very, very long time. So we want to understand what changing it would do and why we would or wouldn't want to change it. So, Mr. Watson, good morning.
Good morning to you. How you doing?
We're doing fantastic. What's going on?
Well, not much. Everything's going pretty good for an old man down here.
So what does this mean? Do we want this to happen? It sounds like we don't.
Well, I think that knowledgeable persons in Colorado would not want this to happen, and I have to think that if the Senate and House sponsors of this bill really understood the adverse fiscal impact that it's going to have on the state and the large number of people it's going to put out of jobs, I think probably they would conclude that the thing is ill-conceived. There are, according to the fiscal study that now resides in the Senate Appropriations Committee, which they will be taking up, I think, next Monday, that study shows that about 75% of all the commercial bail bonds written in the state of Colorado are written in about 10 or 11 counties. Now, those 10 or 11 counties have a taxpayer-funded free bail bond store called a Pretrial Service Agency. It's funded by local county taxpayers, and it basically provides free bail bonds for persons in the county. Those free bail bonds are not based upon nature of crime. They're not based upon indigency considerations. They just recommend to the court that the court let these people out without a bail bond other than through that agency. Now, what happens is the defendant has to sign the bail bond contract with the state, which is just a single piece of paper, and it's got two promises on it. He says, I promise that I'll come back when the court wants me to come back, and I promise that if I don't come back, I will pay the amount of bail that the court has set. And so based on those promises, these pretrial service agencies encourage the judges to let these people out without having a commercial surety guarantee the payment of that money if the defendant fails to appear. And consequently, thousands of people go out through these pretrial service agencies. A very high percentage of them fail to appear. Nobody ever goes after them. Nobody ever collects the money. Now compare that to the commercial bail system where the court sets a bail amount and says that this bond has to be secured. That means that somebody on behalf of that defendant is going to have to arrange with a bail bond underwriter to go over and post a bail bond. 90-something% of them are underwritten by insurance companies there in Colorado. And this surety guarantees that the defendant will be in court or the surety will pay the amount of the bail. Now, Colorado is very, very strict on how quickly this money has to be paid, much more strict than almost any state in the country. You get 90 days. The defendant fails to appear. The agent gets notice that the defendant failed to appear. The agent has 90 days in which to recover that defendant and surrender him back into custody so that he can stand for the charges against him. If he hasn't done that within 90 days, then the clerk of that court from which the defendant absconded will send a notice to the insurance company, and you get an additional 30 days. At the end of that 30 days, if within 15 days the amount of the bail hasn't been paid, then the insurance company and that agent are shut off in that county. Now, they don't allow that to happen, and so consequently, within 120, 130 days, when a defendant fails to appear on a commercial surety bond, the money gets paid. Now, there are, if the fiscal study is right, and that 75% of the bail written in Colorado is written in those urban counties where you have these pretrial service agencies, that means that about, my estimate is that around 700 bail bond men and women have bail agencies in those urban counties and write bail in those locales. My estimation is that all of those people, Woody, all of those people, within a period of around 6 months will have been put out of business by this bill, and here's why. In this economy, those bail bond writers are struggling just like all other small business women and men. They're having to sell their product on credit now because the typical person who needs bail cannot pay the 10% bail premium. And consequently, they're having to accommodate the market's needs and sell the bails on credit. About 80% of that gets collected. Probably 20% of it doesn't get collected. So consequently, these business women and men are already at the cusp of being able to stay in business or lose their business because of cash flow shortages. Now, this bill would certainly, absolutely guarantee that a significant percentage of those business people's bail bond writings would diminish almost overnight. And if you put that additional loss of cash flow burden on them, they cannot sustain themselves, and they're going to have to shut down. So the men and women who own the businesses and their 4 or 5 employees are all going to lose their jobs. Now, that's going to be somewhere between 2,500 and 3,000 jobs lost because of this bill. Now, you may be curious about, well, why would this diminish their writing capacity? Because, and this is a phenomenon that the sponsors of the bill probably don't understand, the people who are going to put into effect and administer this new program are the directors of those pretrial service agencies in those big counties. Those pretrial service agency executives are dedicated, they are driven to eliminate private sector bonding. They want the private sector business gone, and
Jerry?
They want it gone. Yeah.
Yeah, I can believe they do want it gone. Life is all about power. Let me ask you this: obviously the bail bond business. That's who you represent in this, and I don't know that you're actually speaking as a spokesperson for them per se, but we appreciate you coming on. You guys have a vested interest in making sure that these scofflaws get brought to trial. Otherwise, you lose money. And what you're saying is that if this is run by a state agency or by a county agency, they don't really have a vested interest. They get what they get, and they don't go after these guys. And so net, you think this is a loser for the state, even though the bill sponsor says that he thinks that the counties will make money. You say that's not so. We've only got about a minute and a half left.
All right. Well, let me tell you why that's true. Because under this new bill, these new programs that are going to be established provide that 10% of the bail amount will be paid in cash to the clerk of the court by the defendant, and he will guarantee that he will pay the other 90% if he fails to appear. Okay? These programs tried around the country have a very high failure to appear rate. In Colorado, it is the district attorney's statutory duty to collect money on bail bond forfeitures. Through these pretrial service agencies, thousands of people have already failed to appear. Tens of millions of dollars are out there uncollected, and no district attorney anywhere in the state of Colorado has ever collected a penny. So why do we think they would collect anything on this new program?
It's a great point, Jerry. We are going to run out of time. If the Senate bill is Senate Bill 186. Is there a phone number, or website that people can go or to contact you if they want?
Jerry.Watson at AIAsurety.com or AIA Surety, AIASURETY.com.
I got to leave it there, Jerry. We are flat out of time here. Thanks for coming on the show. Dow is down 14. Tom, I'll see you Tuesday. Have a great day.